Here we are. We are doing it
Hello.
and we are live. And I have one of the best, I'm telling you right now, guys, one of the best, the strongest, the most exceptional F&I managers here tonight on Live Talk with Becky Chernek. And so to get things started, here we go, Dora. You go ahead if you don't mind. Let's talk about that background of yours and how you got started in F&I over at Germain Toyota of Naples, Florida.
Hi, everybody. So I started here originally just selling cars, which it was a wonderful experience. From there, I went into the vehicle exchange program. I did that for a couple of years, and I made a bet with Kramer that if I can get to whatever goal he had set at the time, which I thought was impossible, that I would want to go to the next level, which is finance, and hopefully wrap up and just be more rounded in the dealership. And I've been doing this for 2 years now, and we went digital. We started about it, I mean, almost a year and a half now. So, and it's been up and down, but here I am embracing it, loving it, and I would never do it any other way.
So let's talk a little bit about that because you do really have a very interesting background as well. I mean, you're I believe an entrepreneur, your own business, owned your own business before you were hired with the Germain Toyota. So you've got a little bit of that going for you, and then you also worked in service, the exchange program before you were promoted into F&I, and that really brought a lot of, I think, substance, with you when it comes to really a good overall customer experience.
Yeah, and I could use a lot of what I learned in service, all those people that were getting oil changes and having mechanical breakdown issues and relating it now to F&I. And it's easier to overcome, I think, once you understand the customer.
Well, I think so too. And I think it really helped give you a good or a better understanding as to that ultimate customer experience, engaging with the customer sooner, helping them or you to understand the benefit of getting out to the customer sooner rather than later. So anyway, so let's take you back to, let's take you to the COVID days and let's talk about Brian, talk about a very special GM. He is absolutely amazing, very forward thinker. Now, before we do that, how many vehicles do you guys deliver per month?
So now that we have COVID, it's obviously dropped. We probably have more deposits right now than possible car sales this month. So and I would say probably around 180 new cars.
Yeah, but before, this COVID and stuff, I mean, everybody's kind of like, an inventory and that sort of stuff. But generally, you're a 400 unit volume
Yeah.
store, right?
Yes.
I mean, for the
Yes.
most part.
Mhm.
So that was big thinking on Brian's part to decide, hey, we're going to take this on. We're going to go completely digital.
I mean,
everything.
Yeah, I mean, I almost think that he used COVID as an excuse because I know that that's what he wanted anyway. He wanted us to go digital, and this was an opportunity for us to make it happen, and he committed to it, whether we wanted to or not. And we were all scared of it. I mean, just like anything else that you're introduced to something new and you have to learn another thing. When he talked about us doing plates right in the office, I remember thinking, what else can we possibly do now? Now we're doing DMV. I mean, it's a lot, but once you learn it and you understand how simple and easy it is and how it benefits not only the dealership, the process, the customer service end of it, they don't have any problems with their, registration. We do everything in-house. It's just like anything else. It's like riding the bike. Once you just got to get on it.
Well, that's the thing. You just got to get on it. And I got to tell you, I mean, I know that there were plenty of dealers who really thought, you know what, this is the way of the future. We're going here. And, this is something that we have to implement because we have to figure out a better way to engage with our customer online. That was it. It was like, customers don't want to spend the whole day in the dealership buying a car, and we don't want them to either because of this. We don't know what's going on, but yet we know we're resilient and we're going to sell cars come heck or high water. It doesn't matter. And
Yeah.
so they took it on. They found out technology they didn't even have before, right? They had, but they didn't realize that they had it, right? It was sitting idle, collecting cyber dust until they started pulling it out and saying, hey, okay, I've got this. I'm going to go ahead and we're going to figure this digital retailing out come heck or high water. Well, some of them did okay with it. But after about 3 to 4 months, it was like, well, okay, I've got this, business as usual. But it was different for you because it wasn't business as usual. It was like, no, we're really doing this. We're not just kind of thinking it through or kind of putting our toe in the water. I mean, Brian just went all in. And then he tells you, okay, well, whatever you were printing with, you're not doing that anymore. So
You're cut
talk to
off.
us about.
Thanks, Brian. But he knew, just like your kids, right? You have, majority of us have children. I mean, he knew unless he pulled the plug on us being able to print the papers, we have the codes in our heads, 7120 or whatever, and it would print the buyer's order, until he realized some of us were embracing it a lot easier, and some of us were still printing and then doing it digitally as a backup plan. Though they were embracing it, and because they had to, they knew that that's where we were going. They were scared, and when he found out that we were kind of still printing paper, he said, "No, forget it. You're not even allowed to print it." And sure enough, the next day, all cut off. It's either you're doing it my way or the highway. And we love Brian for that. I mean, it pushed us forward for sure. And it wasn't easy, but the difference between him and I think a lot of other people in general is just we all have obstacles, right? We all have things that you try something, it doesn't work. He just kept on trying a different way. Let me try this way. And he figured it out. It's that he was, it was persistence. He figured it out and he made it work. There was nobody was going to tell him it's not going to work. He said, no, it's going to work and I'm going to hash it all out. And it did. And it's effortlessly, and customers love it.
So, okay. So everybody rolled up their sleeves. And one of the things that I really liked about our conversation I had with Brian was the fact that no, we're going to do this. We're all in this together. We're going to roll up our sleeves and we are going to make this work. And we are going to find out what department's doing what with what. The technology in of itself has to integrate with your everyday workflow. One has to interact with the other or, becomes a workaround. And I've seen it happen all too often. I'm in different stores, obviously, and it's like one piece technology doesn't work with the other. So out goes the entire process, and then it becomes a workaround. So you guys took a lot of effort and work and rolled up your sleeves and said, okay, we're going to all dig in and we're going to try to figure out this technology and how it all comes together. Am I right in saying that?
Yeah, but it was his vision. He knew how it had to flow, and he knew that there had to be a certain process. You do, it starts off with, before we even did everything digital on our end in F&I, the salespeople all now have iPads, but that happened first.
Okay.
They had Prodigy, they put all their information, took their picture of their driver's license, it uploads. So that was the first part, and even that was still a little, in the beginning for salespeople that were here we have some of them that are here for 10 years. And when the iPad, came out, it was the same thing. It was learning process. But if you're not going to move forward any other way, you're going to learn it that way, right? So that was the first step. And then from there, it was just you know, we handle all the pulling of credit. We submit from back here. We go ahead, and if the customer's not here, you know, the process is really simple. We call for an interview just as if they were here. We would still get what we need necessary. If it's a cash deal, obviously it's pretty simple. You're just verifying their information, their car, the color of the car, making sure that that's the car that they're going to take delivery on. And if they're, I mean, if you're going to go over their credit app, you do it over the phone, right? You're doing it the exact same way. And then we give them the process. This is something new to them, right? So we just say to them, you know, this is what we're going to do next. After I've gotten all this information, we're going to do an interview. This is just to, you know, to find out how you use your car, right?
Okay, so let me just, I got to stop for a second. Okay, I got to stop. There's so much you just said. There is so much you said. First of all, even with the salespeople, just getting that together correctly to get the documents uploaded correctly, that we can do this right the first time out. I mean, I'm sorry guys, but that is freaking huge. That is amazing, huge. And I mean, my phone is already going off. It's so huge. But but it is. It's like everywhere I go, it's a freaking headache because nobody can get their paperwork straight, right? You know, I talk about and preach about these checklists. Well, you can forget it. I mean, the deal still comes up and it's still got hair all over it. Nobody can get anything right. But he stopped that. And he's like, you know what? I'm over it already. We're not doing that anymore. We don't have time for that. And we're going to talk about your time efficiency because I just want to come over there and just give you a virtual hug because you're so correct. And anyway, so he has developed a way to go ahead and upload this content and make it right the first time out and streamline that enough so that way we know that we don't have all these headaches and CIT and all the other stuff that goes along with why we have a F&I bottleneck. But that's beside the case, right? That is big right there. Big right there.
Yeah. If I was to walk in any of our offices, there is no deals behind our desk that you see in other dealerships. Yeah. We clean as we go. There's very little paperwork. When the customer leaves my office, within 5 minutes, I'm funded. That's crazy. It's crazy.
No, it really is. So, you know, I told you years ago, well, I told you about years ago, I was hired by a provider in Puerto Rico, an insurance agent to come out and talk to his dealers. And he's like, this woman's from the future. And, you know, so some of what she's sharing with you is like very futuristic, which I didn't feel was futuristic at all, but that's you. That's exactly what this is. You're sharing with everyone the importance of being able to utilize this technology, not to take away from the human factor, but really to enhance the entire process. And how important is that? Okay, so first and foremost, documents are coming into the F&I office and it's correct.
Correct.
It is streamlined. It doesn't stop. I mean, it stops. If we don't have a correct driver's license, we're not going any further. It is what it is. These are steps to our sale. These documents must be uploaded. And the beauty of it is to a private server. So you got compliance in check. You're doing everything that you're supposed to do to make sure that we're taking this personal information off the floor.
Right.
Then
safeguards them.
Which I absolutely have to say I adore. Let's talk about this interview process because let me tell you something. I have talked to people till I'm freaking blue in the face about interview, why it's so important to get it out with the customer. So do you do the interview because Brian wants you to do the interview? Not because I love that you do the interview, but I'm just saying, why do you do it? Why do you do it?
Oh my gosh, it's so simple. It's because I'm verifying all the information. And how can I sell anything if I don't understand the needs of the customers? I literally have 0 CITs. If anything, sometimes they owe me money, and I love that. because nobody ever comes back and says to me, I want to cancel everything. That means I didn't do a good job making them understand the importance of it and how it fits into their life and why they need it. And I mean, maybe I'm not, running $3,000 a copy, but I'm not running $3,000 a copy and having $80,000 in chargebacks either. So I'm running very good numbers. We're all in this store are running probably around 24 to 2,800 copy. And, I would say almost half of our business is now digital. I'm told when I say digital, I don't mean paperless, right? I mean, the customer comes in, that person, listen, the dealership will never go away. I still want to go into a dealership and I still want to sit in the car. I want to close my eyes. I want to feel the leather in the steering wheel. I still want to make sure that seat doesn't bother my back. I want to have questions and have a human to answer them. I don't want to be on the phone and waiting on the phone people still need dealers, right? So they're coming in, they're still looking at the car. The difference is they don't have to spend all day there. We could still say to them, you don't have time? Not a big deal. Just leave me a driver's license, insurance, registration, and I'm going to be giving you a call at your convenience. When are you going to be home today? Setting up a time. They're home, relaxing, in their PJs, on their recliner. I give them a call. And even if I've never met them before, if it was an internet lead, for example, I still want to get to know them. So I look at their, application. I see, what area code. Oh, it looks like you have a New York area code. Yeah. Oh my gosh. And all of a sudden it's like, oh, you were in my neighborhood and you were eating cheese, pasta, in my favorite restaurant. I mean, I'm still interacting the exact same way, building rapport, finding out how they're using the car and verifying all the information, because the last thing I want to do is to go back because I made a mistake when all I had to do was ask a simple question.
I just wish other people, I really hope that there's a lot of people, and I believe that there's lots of comments. Mike Palmer he's commenting, left and right. He's got some great comments. And but the idea is you got to know what you're dealing with, right? It's so important to make sure that, why wouldn't you want to make sure that everything is straight up? You have a better understanding of your customer before they ever make their way into your office, or even before you go ahead and do an online presentation. It makes no sense to me. And I banged my head up. I don't know. It's a wonder my head is still even here. Just kidding. But I'm just saying, it just gets to the point that it's just, why wouldn't you want to go ahead, fact find a little bit, build that rapport, get to know someone, create more of a value proposition. So before I forget, sometimes I will. But I think it's important how you do you just absolutely, wowed me. So you go in a rotation at your store, and
Right.
it's not like you pick and choose what customers you're going to work with and that sort of thing. You go in a proper rotation. So when you're on rotation, when you're up, you're at the salesperson's desk. Sales manager's desk. Is that correct?
Well, yes. So if we're in rotation, I'm first up that day. I
Yep.
am up and watching every person that's going out with a pencil. If they can't come back with a commitment, then I go back. I go out and I'll get a commitment, bring it to the desk. So we're closing them at whatever payment. And then at the same time, I have to bring them into my office just like everybody else. And then we're still having to do our job and maximize the back end as well. So we maximize the front and in the back. And
Well, I think what I like about that whole strategy is the fact that you're involved sooner. It's like you're right up there. You're talking to the customer, immediately. Hey, how are you? Just by the way, if you have any questions, here I am. And
yep.
we even talked about that Cheers show, and you have your door is open, and
Yep.
it doesn't matter.
I
You want
wanted
people.
to feel like they're home. This is, you're visiting our home. this is your home. So when you come in my office, I don't close my door. I have nothing to hide. I want them to feel like they can get up and go get coffee, and it's very homey. Somebody might be standing outside my door, and it might be somebody from accounting with plates, and I'll say, yeah, come on in, because it shouldn't be this secretive thing where I'm stuffing something, and I'll stop and I'll just say, yeah, come in, and I'll introduce, oh, these customers just bought this amazing blue RAV4, oh yeah, this is so and so. And I love the fact that they get to meet not just myself, but if I'm going out and TOing, they're meeting me, they're meeting maybe somebody else. And it's the same thing. If I'm not busy and there's nothing else going on, I'll stand up front and wait for a customer to walk in the door. I love that, because I'm introducing myself right in the beginning and just saying, does anybody help you? Thank you for coming in, Germain. Did you have an appointment? Bring them to a salesperson. Can I get you some water? So now that when I come in and I'm going in to close and get a commitment, it's like, oh, I know her. Yeah. The girl.
See,
yeah, come here. I love that.
I feel like, when you have that environment, people know that it's a friendly environment. I've actually walked into dealerships and I think the back of my hair has gone up and by my neck. I can feel it in the store. It doesn't feel
I've
good.
seen it. No,
You know what I mean? Have
horrible.
you just felt it? It's like, oh, it's very uncomfortable and I don't know, you just kind of feel it. But like when you're walking into your store and you're feeling like everybody's open, come on in, we're here, we're transparent, we have nothing to hide. This is how we do our business. I mean,
Right.
it just makes you feel all together. It makes you feel better. Now, I got to share with you, we've got some comments coming in. So I want to make sure you know that you are getting some comments coming in, and we'll get more into this whole digital process. But Katie did comment, and Katie, she's terrific. She is with Driven IQ. Love this girl. But in my opinion, the interview is one of the most important steps of the process. Now, we'll say she's JM&A. She comes from JM&A, so she's on our side. Anyway, that's why you are averaging over 2K a copy and then some. I'm telling you guys, and then some. But the store standard is 1,900 PVR, right?
Yes.
And so here's the question. You're going to like this one. PVR is great, but product PVR, product deal, is better. Would you not agree with that? Would love to know what the team average is on product sales per deal. Like your product index. Like, do you sell more product or do you sell all on reserve?
No. So I would say we also monitor that as well every month. The standard here is to be under 45% of overall gross, less than that. And typically, I would say I would run 34% on reserve, if not less. I would say a third of my deals are cash, and some of them are cash and remote deals. I love those. I love a challenge. Let's just put it that way. So we do monitor the where it's coming from, and like I said, I mean, the store is not just myself. It's the store that does a really good job. We look every month at our numbers and chargebacks, and if somebody had a customer who refinanced it, I mean, it's rare, because we truly, I believe, do a really good job going out there and talking to the customer, and we don't make that how we make our money. It's selling product to the customer.
So I think that answers your question there, Anthony. And, so one of the things too and we'll get into this because, I mean, you're doing a phenomenal job. I mean, in that you will do a deal. It's all digital. It's all on this digital menu. And the reason why I say this, because again, I have been in different dealerships all over the USA, and they have this Darwin or they have another digital menu provider, and half the time or most at DocuPad, I even caught a couple people with DocuPad, I mean, if you will, printing out a menu. Like, what do you have DocuPad if you're printing out a menu for? And it's like they just will not, it's just very difficult for them to take total ownership of this digital menu. But you do this interview, you start out this survey of questions, and you make that whole deal really kind of work. I mean, you get it prompt. I mean, you get involved, you're asking questions, and then you're turning over that to the customer to take ownership. Is that right?
Mhm. Yeah, I mean, I look at it as if they're every single customer is part of my family. Honestly, I love them all. I love customers. I don't have a bad customer. I look at them like if people used to say, oh, don't you get a bad customer? And I said, I don't even know what that looks like. If I have somebody who's having a difficult time, I have to understand that we all go through those times, and it's just ignoring that and doing my job. And it seems to pull them out. And if there's not everybody's compatible with everybody, let's face it. Even though we do have a rotation, and we one thing that we do have is trust. We in this I mean, I've been here long enough to have seen what it looks like when you don't have trust in a dealership. And all of us, I don't feel like I have to look over my shoulders because somebody's going out there and closing a deal that they shouldn't be. If somebody needs help, they have a woman, maybe I'll have a little bit more of a soft touch. They'll say, Dora, can you do me a favor? Can you do the presentation? I'll load it up. We help each other. We're family here, and we trust each other. And I think that's the other part of why we do so well in the store.
See, and that's so important. I mean, so some of the guys are asking, and I know that you and I had this conversation, but everyone doesn't know that maybe we've had this conversation. But I feel like I know that you take 100% of the deals 100% of the time. You have a lot of you have a lot of cash transactions.
A
But
lot.
what I think that people need to have a better understanding is that you're either doing it a completely offsite, online, in dealership, doesn't matter. Everyone is going through the same process, the interview, the survey of questions, this digital presentation in dealership, online. You're sending a link to the customer online, offsite, whatever you want to call it. They get this link.
Yep.
And you are doing 100% of these menu presentations online. Is
100%. You have to. Yeah. So it's also supporting them because they might have some questions. This is Naples, our demographic here. We have a lot of people that are retired, and some people are not tech savvy. So it's walking them through the whole process. Literally, sometimes you're holding their hand throughout the entire thing. But the majority of the times it's just on the phone while you're doing your menu presentation. They're in a computer, they can see the menu presentation, and you're just explaining each box, and you're saying, hey, listen, I'm on this end. Do you have any questions, before I ask you to choose? It's the same exact thing. And then when they don't choose, what do? You let's call that recliner close. They're in their recliner and you're trying to close them.
Yeah. You got to have a recliner close. I like that. That's, but I just want to make sure that everybody's understanding that this is 100% of the time, all the time. This is online. We're presenting menus complete. It doesn't bother you in the least whether or not the customer's offsite. Didn't that bother you at first, or were you just, I'm okay, I'll go, I'll do it, doesn't matter?
I didn't have a choice. So, but I did, I would say I'll never forget my first one. It was a woman who had cancer. And when COVID hit, and this is a very good customer of ours, when COVID hit, she didn't feel comfortable coming to the dealership at all. And we had the salesperson drive by with the vehicle. We basically plastic wrapped the whole entire car. He showed her the car. She said, great. He came back and I gave her a call, did an interview, explained the process. And I was terrified. But if you follow the process, you don't change that, then no matter if I'm scared or not, it's a concern for me, but the process works. So once I went over it, she had tons of questions and I preferred her. And that was my first experience. And I said, holy, I get it. Like,
I don't think they
so
care here, but
my my philosophy is if they're gonna buy, if they're likely to buy, right? There's a percentage that is likely to buy, whether they're here or whether they're home. To me, they're relaxed at home. They're not thinking, oh, I'm gonna go in the box and they're gonna try to sell me. They're not even thinking of that right now. They're just thinking, I can't believe how cool this is. I can't believe how fast this how easy it is. And so when you're presenting it, they're not thinking she's trying to sell me something. They're just thinking this is the process. Now I get to choose and do it at my own, and I play with my iPad. You know, it's an amazing experience. Even if they're in my office, I love the fact that they take it's in their hand. Like the car they're buying, it's
I
in
mean,
their hand.
I think that is so cool because I can tell you how many don't really engage that digital menu the way that that you do. And they may start up a conversation with the customer when they make their way into the F&I office, but you start that process so much earlier on. You really you integrate that technology with that customer earlier on at the salesperson's desk after you've gathered the information that you need to secure the information that obviously you need for your presentation, but also to engage and make sure that they have that they have the connection with that iPad. Yeah.
Making it fun. It's
Yeah.
fun. It's like a little game.
Game.
I think especially when they're a little bit older, maybe the younger people just think that it's supposed to be there, right? But the older people go, my God, this is so cool because it's so futuristic to them, you know? And it is so easy. All they're doing is signing their name with their fingers or whatever I say, you can use your finger. It's like Play-Doh. You're playing, right? They're getting to, customize something. One of the things that I'll never forget, people used to say when they used to print it, this is, the package. And I love that idea, except that the likelihood of them maybe not really wanting that package, right? Now you're stuck to that. This is, you know what? Let me show you what this would be. This will do your payment because I really think you need tire and wheel, explaining why. Oh, this is Naples. Look at all the
Yeah.
construction they're doing. Oh my gosh, for $12 a month. Makes sense, right? I mean, come
Right.
on, let's just push it over here. And they'll buy it, right? And if they understand it, it's no different than when you buy a car that's $50,000 with all this electronics, right? And you have a salesperson that says, here's your keys, see you later. Now you're driving home with all this amazing, new technology. And if you don't know how to use it, are you likely to see value in just spending this $50,000? It's why not then have spent $30,000 on a car that had no technology if you're not using it, right?
I mean,
So if they
exactly.
don't
Right.
fully
Right.
understand it, they're not going to see the value in it. It's no different.
So we have some more questions here. So I want to make sure that I'm giving everybody opportunity. I don't know. I think we talked about cash buyers. I've always explained if the world goes through a flip, your money is a liquid. I always suggest keeping some of that money in the shoebox and use some of that paper. So I agree with that. That's great. So always want to have that cash converting customers over to financing from cash. Katie goes, absolutely. EMI increases PPD products and PVR. Question: do you Zoom while you're doing menu or only over the phone? See, a lot of these guys, here's what they're not. Okay, I'm trying to set the stage because a lot of these people will either Zoom, have some sort of a face-to-face conversation with the customer, or upload a paper menu or menu of some sort to the customer and do the Zoom. What do you do?
We don't have to do that because we have Darwin. Darwin is digitalish. They it goes to in their email, it clicks on a link, it's live. I get to see it on my end. It's a mirror of what they're seeing. It's more versus you're sending a menu that's paper, you can't change and customize and make it fun. It's more interactive, I think. So I think they enjoy it on their end. So we're not. I've thought about Zooming, but to be honest with you, I always try to make things simple. You know what? If it's working and Zoom maybe is something we can do, but I don't think it's necessary. I think for me, the phone, just the phone interview, staying on the phone is fine. They don't need to see, this face, they just
Of
need to
course they
see
do.
what's
They love
going
to have
on.
so what you're doing, and I know the mirror, it shows you the same as what the customer is seeing. So you're both interacting together, having that conversation, what the customer's toggling through. And I know in certain providers, I don't know for sure what Darwin added this feature or not. I can't remember, but you can actually highlight certain areas. You can circle certain areas using like a marker of sorts. I don't know if they have this feature or not. Some menu providers do as you're presenting your menu to a customer, digital menu. It's kind of cool, right? And so you get to highlight this or that, or some have that little flashlight thing. You can go ahead and kind of highlight certain areas of that product presentation with the customer. But it's really kind of clever, right? It really is cool. So one of the things that I've always said, it's almost like, really, it's like a PowerPoint presentation. So it's a mini PowerPoint presentation. So the reason I say that, and I'm sure I'm not the only one here, and I'm sure you've done this in the past where you've had to make a presentation. Yes.
Yeah,
And
never liked it,
okay,
but yeah.
I've had to have a PowerPoint presentation, and it was at first when I started with the PowerPoint presentation. Frankly, it was awkward because I was just used to like a flip chart, and doing my everything was through flip charts and visuals and that sort of stuff. And then when it started getting really sophisticated into PowerPoint presentation, I'm like, oh, I don't know, but you make it work, and people just love the interactivity of it all, right?
Yeah, I 100%. No matter what age group you're looking at, I would say that the younger people just absolutely think that this is the only way it should be. And me and my husband had even thought about, moving, let's say, out of state, right? And I said to him, I can't go anywhere. I said, if they do paper, I said, I can't work for somebody like that. I'm stuck here. That's it. That's the way I look at it, because I know that we're far advanced more than any other dealership, and it's
Yes, you
so
are.
easy. It makes be honest with you, I love coming to work, and because it's so simple, right? I don't have any CIT issues. I just come in, and it's easy to me, and I enjoy it, and I'm having fun. When that changes, then I'll talk to Kramer. But I just love the fact that even me, when you're talking about I had a business, the same thing. Every week I used to have a meeting and try to figure out other ways, and let's
Mhm.
try this and like that. So I love the idea of always learning and always trying to streamline something. You think I want to be with a customer for an hour in my office? I want them in and out, having a great experience. I want them to give us back amazing surveys. I want them to know that, just this morning, I clocked in and a customer sits down. I sold her car exactly 6 weeks ago, and just having coffee, right? And she's doing something to her tire. She got a flat. I love that. I love that they can come back, because then there's retention. They have this great experience. It doesn't take long. They're more likely to buy again. And we have an amazing VEP department, which does a good job. They're more likely knowing that it's not a painful process. It's okay. We got you. You can go home. Let's take care of you. Let's just make it fun.
So Michael says here, Palmer, I am born in Flint, Michigan, being from Motor City, but also in the automotive industry. It's hard to see dealers having difficulties at buying inventory and owning inventory right. So what is your opinion on cost of wholesale and new vehicle invoicing prior to retail purchases? I'm not sure if we're going to go into that necessarily. So I think I'm going to save that particular question, unless you'd like to go ahead and take a stab at it. But I think that's more or less maybe a question for Brian.
Correct.
Yeah, that's what I thought. So good question there, though, Michael. I appreciate it. But okay, so here's what I want to talk about. I want to talk about e-contracting for a moment. So you guys, I would assume you're doing all of this again through e-contracting. You're not touching on, yeah. Hey, sure, whatever, Michael. You guys from Michigan, you got that water. I don't know. You're drinking something. Just kidding. But the Florida Michigan thing, what can I tell you? Anyway, so here's the thing. E-contracting, and how does that whole thing, how does that e-contracting work for you? Are you doing that with everything, or I mean, I imagine you would have to.
Everything.
Everything.
Yeah.
There's
So
no
once
there's no printing more contracts out. None of it. None of it.
none. So once they've selected what it is that they need for their vehicle in order to protect it, then we push it over to CDK. From CDK, then I push that over to Route 1 and create the contract. It immediately goes to their phone, give it a text message with the PIN number, verifies their information, that's who they are, and they can e-sign their law contract. I do the same thing with the buyer's order, and that gets sent to them directly after that as well. And the DMV paperwork, the same thing, it's e-signing. We do nothing here. They do it all through links in their emails.
So Jerry wants to know, and he's, by the way, Gerald, is a excellent F&I trainer. Yay! He really is. He's awesome. He's good people. What percentage of customers end up taking physical delivery at the store?
Oh my gosh, I would say, so let's say 50% of it goes digital. I want to say the majority actually pick it up at the store. They still, I think that what we're failing to understand is, even though it's more a convenience thing. They don't want to be here. I don't want to be at a dealership, right? So a lot of them are coming in, looking at the vehicle, leaving, doing the paperwork, and then still coming by and deliver the car. We offer to take the car to their home, but majority of them just want to pick it up. It's the oddest thing, right? So it's not, I think, what you think, that they want to still come in. They really do. They want to still meet us and they have questions. They want the human interaction. They just love the fact that they don't have to sit here for an hour outside while I'm loading a deal and put them in the office, and they'll have no pressure. And if they have no pressure, then it's easier for me to make them feel relaxed and it's okay to buy something.
Isn't that the truth? So hear me out right now. Okay, so this is my pet peeve. This is one of my other than the interview, I've got a couple pet peeves. So this other one is, okay, so why in the world do we do such a good job maybe trying to engage with the customer to some degree online? I'm not saying it's the best. I think we still have some issues in BDC and really having that conversation between what's happening with BDC and F&I. I think we can do a much better job with that whole thing. That's my opinion. But at the end of the day, it's like once they toggle through whatever we allow them to toggle through, whatever that digital journey is, and every store is different. Every digital retailer is going to be different platform provider, what they offer. So a dealer really needs to make sure that they figure that out before they decide to sign on the dotted line. What is this doing, and how does that fit with what we do, right? Because they have a way, they have a culture as well. Does that fit in with what we do? There's AutoFi. I think you got, I'm not sure, but I think you guys are working with I can't remember. But there are other Roadster, there's other Carnell, there's a lot of other digital retailer providers, and I get that. But what I don't get, you're going through all this, but when the customer comes back and when the customer's at the dealership, okay, here I am buying a car, got it all figured out. Well, we don't have it figured out because now we have to start the process all over again. And what you have been able to do, your store have been able to figure out from online, engaging that customer, getting the customer into the dealership, and not having to start the process all over again. You understand the benefit of time efficiency, right? And
Oh, yeah.
I mean, are you starting all over again with these customers? Are you not, I mean, are you kind of, I mean, or there's rhyme or reason from the time the customer was online to when they get into the dealership? Are you helping to speed the actual delivery process?
At times, of course. I mean, we have a lot of, every dealership has, a certain percentage of people that are still new, and they still need us to help figure out, even selection, right? So we're in there from selection. So I'll just say, I cut to the chase. Hey, what is it that you're really trying to accomplish here today? Looking at, payment is a concern for you. Yeah. So maybe, they're in a certain car, and maybe we'll just go into a Corolla. And it's just saying, okay, other than that, I mean, are you open to color? And I'll just say, hey, listen, go grab a Corolla. I'll sit here, make sure the customer's, okay, and pull it up. He's going to do an amazing walk around. Make sure you love the car, and then we'll go from there. And then I'll help you with any questions when it comes to finance. It's that simple, and it works really well for the store.
So if you had to go ahead and put a time, and we talked a little bit about that, from the time the customer gets into your office, I mean, on average, what's the time from the time that they get into, from the time, let's say even meet and greet, and from the time that they get into your office, what's going on with that?
Okay, so if we're talking about from meet and greet, I gotta still load up the deal the normal way. I need about 10 minutes. I mean, we still gotta get it approved. I would say in and out, um, 40 minutes
Okay. So when you say in and out, are you talking about from
from the
the
meet and
time
greet.
you met them, a meet and greet, your meet and greet, or the sales
Right, do the interview, make sure I
interview?
have all the information, come back here, load it up about 10 minutes.
Yep.
From there, having the customer come in my office. It doesn't even have to come in my office. I can go out there with the iPad.
Oh my God, don't
It
tell me
doesn't
that.
matter. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Because what I do, one of the first things I do is go to the DLR, which is the DMV paperwork. I send them their in their email all the DMV paperwork, because while I'm doing my interview outside, I'm explaining to them, I'm going to go in there. I'm going to make sure I'm going to be transferring your plate. In about 5 minutes, I want you to look at your email. It's going to be a company called DLR. I want you to go ahead and open the link. And all it is I'm explaining what documents they're signing. And then I come back here and I finish. Now I'm loading my menu presentation while they're outside with the salesperson doing DocuSign with all the DMV paperwork. Now that's out of the way. All I have left is the menu presentation when they get in my office, and then the two contracts, all e-sign, whether it's in my office or whether it's outside with the salesperson or outside in the car. It doesn't matter where it's done.
I mean, okay, I love that, right? So everybody, I'm hoping everybody is getting this, that no matter where you are, no matter where the customer is, no matter how far, no matter how close, wherever, that customer is getting a digital menu presentation, and you are finally finalizing that on e-contracting, e-remote, e-sign, somehow, some way. That is what's happening come heck or high water, right? That is
Correct.
what you're doing.
Yes.
And so, so this tag and title issue, and I told Brian, I said, I promise I won't go in the weeds because I can get into the weeds, and I bet you can too, Dora. You and me are very much alike, Italian.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So no one understands DLR. They don't freaking get this. This guy, Michael from if he's still on here, he's like, what are y'all talking about, DLR? And here's the thing that I would get. Oh my gosh. Well, some of and they do. Every state is going to be different. DLR just came on. I mean, they haven't been around but a year, right? Yeah.
About.
And so they went ahead. Hey, Mike, good to see you. Mike Thomas just came on to say hey. So DLR just got in the picture about a year ago. My understanding is they sold Title Tech, and the creators are the ones who are involved in this DLR, which they understood all the problems through I'm not, I don't know if I'm supposed to share this or not, but anyway, so they came on board and they created this DLR. Now, DLR is available in Georgia, in Florida, and Minnesota. It's not in the other states yet. But this freaking deal is amazing. It clears out everything. It offers all digital signatures. Do I have this right? On all the title work, everything.
Everything.
So my question was, does it allow for reassignment? How about power of attorney? What are y'all doing with your federal odometer statements? Same thing?
Digital.
Is it?
Digital.
See,
Digital.
for those that are listening in right now, guys, hello, but it's not in your state yet. Yeah. So
The only paper they're leaving with is their registration.
that's a paper. And that, okay. So, I mean, so just think about all this. This is just absolutely fascinating to me because there's nothing, anything, it's all being done. You do your interview, you're validating the transaction, you're assuring the information is correct. They are then provided with the information then to sign in digital signature for all the tag and title work. And you complete, actually, I think you also complete the tag in your office, yes?
If they need
Remember
a new plate.
you said, hey, I'm not the, what am I,
Well,
the
at
DMV
first I
person?
wanted to say, Kramer, I'm not the DMV, but I am. I do it all. They need plates. I got plates. I never thought in a million years that could work, or it would be it's so easy. It's the easiest thing. I never have a customer come back and say, hey, what's accounting doing? They didn't do their job. And no, I am it. This is it. This is where the buck stops. You come in, get a plate, you get the registration, I give you the sticker, kiss you goodbye. I mean, it's just
Kiss you
wonderful.
goodbye. And
Yeah.
I love it. I mean,
Well, we do one of these now, but
yeah, we can't kiss no more.
No more.
Yeah, I remember those days. I was a hugger. Give me a big hug. Okay,
Yeah,
great.
hugger.
So the more they bought, the bigger the hug. Just saying. So Jerry says, hey, Dora, you get it. And then we'll see what Katie says. Do you leave the iPad with a customer for interview questions with Darwin, or do you sit with them while they answer the questions?
We sit there. I want to hear them. I mean, if we're out there, we've done it a whole bunch of different ways. If we're out there with the iPad and they're doing the interview, yeah, I want to, because believe it or not, the biggest thing that I get, which is so funny to me, they sit there and if it's a question like, have you ever lost your key? They're like really like trying to like answer it correctly. Like, oh my gosh, well, I don't know. I mean, how would you answer that, Dora? I'm like, well, did you lose a key? Like, it's a simple question. I'm like, you're not getting graded on this, right? I mean, we're not gonna tell you, oh, by the way, you failed and you can't buy a car. Like, it's so you have to be there. They like I think I said before, they need human interaction, which is I got to be thankful for that, because if they didn't need us, then we wouldn't have a job. Let's face it. They need us. They want us. They have questions. So, and it's every single time, or they'll say, well, how many miles do I drive a year? And they'll sit there and try to calculate it. And I'm just guiding them through it. Like, come on, little buddy. Let's
You got this.
Come on. You got
it. You got this. So, okay. So here's the other question that I have for you, because I know some of the things that happen in F&I, we get a little concerned about when we hand over this, the digital menu to the customer. You're all about get it in their hands, let them play with it, let them toggle it. Let's move this product to that product. And none of that bothers you. You just let them have it.
No, I love it.
You love it.
I love it. Absolutely. I love it. I love it better when they go, I want that one. It's the,
it's got it all.
I mean, yeah. Then I'm like, sure, let's just sign, sign, sign. That's it. That it
Yeah.
should be that easy. It takes
Yeah.
me to do many presentation. It's like that. And usually if I'm gonna ask them, if they're not gonna buy anything, this the same thing. It's just going back and asking them, what is it about this? Is it the package, the way I package it that concerns you, right? Well, I really decided that I really not gonna keep it for, 10 years. Maybe I'm going to trade out in 5. Okay, well, let's look at that. Let's see what that'll do. But I really think you need to get it because with all this, electronics and technology, if your salesperson did a good job in explaining all that, you understand that you need that protection, correct? Well, yeah, it's the same. Yeah, I love it.
So, okay. Something about today, not exactly sure. Could be Russia. I don't know. But there's a good one. Rainbow form in Florida. What is all that? What is a
Yep,
rainbow form in
digital.
Florida?
Yep, the
Oh, the
title
digital.
reassigned.
Okay. Okay.
It's because we did it paper. We did the paper way at first with the rainbow forms. It's the
Yeah.
same thing. It's all electronic, and immediately it all gets uploaded through the DMV.
Okay. So there is not a darn thing. Okay. Just want to reiterate, there is not a darn thing that anyone through the process, through your sales process, they utilize an iPad. And
Yep.
from there, you meet customers, you greet customers with your iPad, and
Yeah.
you also make sure that you go over what you need to address with a customer. No, and then I think Jerry's saying no smoke and mirrors, just straight talk, right? Yeah. I mean, there's
Well,
just, you don't have to worry about anything, right? It's
and
as
nothing comes
streamlined as
back
you
to
can
bite
get.
you. Correct.
You have nothing to, right. You have nothing to get in your way. You know where you're at. You know why you're doing. Customers are happy. Can I do, and they know what's happening, right? They know the process. They know what to expect. They know that, hey, by the way, I'm going to take this information and I'm going to make this all come together because that's what we do.
Yeah.
And by the way, right, can I get you something to drink? Can I get you a cup of coffee? But here's the thing. Now, I can't do this a lot because I know we have to close soon. But here again, because I just love you. I love talking. You know how much I really do enjoy you. And Brian said, Becky, you will love Dora. And he is so freaking right. If you're there, Brian, I love Dora. That's so right. But here's the thing. There's this debate. And my debate has always been, should an F&I person be submitting the deal to the lender or should it be up at the desk? And especially a lot of dealers today are doing more of that because they want, their whole thinking, Dora, is to reduce the time. So they figure if they're going to go ahead and submit this deal to the lender, then that'll give, and it will help you to speed up the time it takes. So that way you're not having to do it. So what are your thoughts on that real quick?
Absolutely. It's a big no-no.
I'm
I
loving
think
you, Becky.
Brian understands that every single person has a role. Stick to your role and excel in it. And our role is to understand banks, right? So I get it all the time. The desk will say, well, let's see if we have a deal here. They'll give me a piece of paper, right? And say, go submit it. So here it is. Before I submit it, I'm looking it over. I'm looking at it. I'm going, okay, this guy makes $1,200 a month and he's looking for a $500 payment. The bank, I'm going to waste my time, number one, which is a big no-no. Number two, I'm now hurting the customer because I'm going to go ahead and shoot this to everybody without really understanding, right? Meanwhile, my job is to look at it, go back out there and go, hey, I want to verify, number one, all this information before I submit it, right? And I want to make sure that I understand it. So you're making $1,200 a month. So just out of curiosity, do you have any other income? Or
Yeah.
do you have a cosigner? Before I submit it, I want to make sure I'm submitting it right the first time. I don't have to call the bank and say it was wrong. It's right the first time. It cuts back on how much time basically I'm making sure we're getting an approval. The front desk is not going to make sure they're not going to go out there and do all that. So the likelihood of them getting an approval is slim to none on some of these deals. There's no way I would do that.
Well, I got to tell you something. This is another conversation I could drill down into like there's no tomorrow, but I will say this, that some of these dealers will take an F&I person and promote them to the desk. And sometimes some of those guys forget where they've been too.
Mhm.
So it doesn't necessarily always work. I don't know what happens. It's like, I don't know. What do they call that? They forget where they're at. What's the word? Memory thing. At anyway, so they just forget that they've been in that F&I office. But I so I caution dealers to be really careful minded about making that decision, because here's what I'm saying. I'm seeing where, I mean, it's just, we're not validating the information. We're not doing what we need to do to make sure it's correct going in the first time out. And of course, then you have some of the sales managers who aren't as experienced, and basically they just shotgun the deal. They don't much care. And then they, just when you think that you can give them like, well, okay, well, I'll give you a 700 plus FICO scores. You can handle that. Even that they can't handle, because then we don't even have bookouts correct, or we have customers' information spelled incorrectly. And I can imagine you have to be very particular where you're at to make sure that the spelling and everything else matches. It
Right.
could
I
be
mean,
quite
you
the
could have a
nightmare.
right. You could have a 720 beacon. It doesn't mean you can have a thin file. I mean, it doesn't mean anything.
It
If
doesn't.
you're what is that? I mean, a score. You got to look at why. I mean, did they have a previous Toyota loan? Can I? There's so many reasons why. I would almost ask the other question would be, tell me why the desk should be submitting a deal, because that would be an easier answer than
Yeah.
I mean, the answer is no.
Yeah, I feel like there's more we can do by training up our F&I department. And I think that sometimes our F&I people, we need to do a better job there too in making sure that we are training and keeping up with the talent pool when it comes to F&I and being able to submit the deal and able to obtain lender approval. And, even if the deal is coming submitted from the desk, that doesn't necessarily mean you're going to take it as face value, right? We're going to
Right.
get in there. We're going to figure this stuff out. I mean, that's what I'm used to. It's like, oh, wait a second. Because how many times has it been we've looked at a deal and it's like, ugh, ugly, really, really ugly. But then we go out and we meet with the customer, and what do we find out? There's a way out, right? There's a light at the end of the tunnel. I've got a place to go. I've got some more income. I got something else that will help me to put this deal together. But at face value, until you meet with that customer, it makes all the difference. So I'll tell you how quick this hour went. It's just freaking amazing how quickly this
Is it?
time went.
Oh,
So
yes, it is.
I know I was like, I'm going to make this fast, but you know what? There's no going fast with you. And so for the rest of the viewers and dealers that are watching, let me just get some of these comments real quick. And we got Jerry. Jerry, thank you again for being on. I know I've been meaning to get with Jerry on a few things on compliance. So I do need to reach out to you, Jerry. And thank you again. He's a terrific, terrific trainer. He knows his stuff. And I want to talk to him about some compliance stuff. Bill Belichick, do your job. Amnesia. That's what it was. Two heads are always better than one. Thank you, Jerry. Told you he was good people. Okay. Anthony, really comes down to personal preference by the dealer. Desk managers should really have spent time in F&I to better understand what they are in their deal in the moment. I'm telling you right now, I get it, but they're not getting in and they're not reviewing the deal. They are not getting off the desk, and they're not fact finding before that deal is submitted. I bet you. And then doesn't matter, Anthony. Everyone has a role. Amen. Amen. Sales, desk manager negotiates, and F&I seals the deal. Oh, I told you like Jerry, didn't I? Christine Farnan, awesome content. Thank you so much. Christine, thank you so much. Christine's a fantastic lady that I know and love. And so she's in Albany, New York, in the cold climate.
No, it's snowing there.
Jerry, I couldn't agree. F&I should take on this role as a professional, but not all F&I are created equal. and not all dealers want their F&I getting bogged down. Again, it comes to the dealer's preference. So I told you I can get into a really heated debate on this one. This is a good one because you have so many that feel. I did a poll on LinkedIn and it came real close, but I got to tell you, the ones that feel like F&I needs to be calling the lenders and submitting the deals to the bank came in at a higher percentage than it was those that felt. And I understand they feel like, if they submit the deal, they know where they're going with the deal to be able to close the deal, to work the deal. They can do that in so many different other ways without having to submit the deal and call the deal in. We can use matrix guidelines, that sort of stuff. And every dealer is different on how they want to do stuff. But I've seen it. I've watched it. Some are really good at it. And then there's some that they're not. They just aren't that great at it. And they'll more or less, like I said, they'll shotgun a deal in a heartbeat second. Then I've had them where they've actually submitted a deal and the customer didn't even have any income, or a job. And I'm like, so let me ask you a question. Where do you think that's going to go? And of course, it was TV'd across the board. So of course, we had to do our interview and kind of figure out where we're at in the deal. But anyway, that is a great, that's another show for another day.
Right. And all I'm going to say to that is that when we're talking about F&I being bogged down, that only happens when you do things paper way. When you go digital, I don't have one deal in my office, so there's nothing to bog me down. If I'm having to call the bank, I'm calling them before the people even get in my office. I know what kind of deal, what I'm dealing with, all my steps are coming up front. So digital and how fast we go and how long we're going to keep customers in here, all that bogs you down. What we're doing here is the opposite. So I have time to go out on the floor to maximize my back end and close deals and know what's going on. I'm not in my office. I go through a lot of shoes here, Kramer.
Well, you know what? I'll tell you, we've got some diehards here that have, their opinion, but I think you hit the nail on the head there. And if in the event we don't have to worry about this F&I bottleneck because the way the deals are making their way into this F&I office is a complete mess. And a lot of them are because it's not correct, or we're trying to we're trying to think, get tag and title work correct. We're chasing steps. I mean, how many times has it been where we've delivered a unit and the customer's coming back again and again and again and again? So you might have a 200 unit store, new car stores, but you get 50% of the paperwork wrong. That means I actually am seeing 300 in that same month because I have to correct all the issues. So you might be right. You probably won't have the right amount of time to be able to do what we need to do. So if you tighten that up, that wouldn't be the case. That's not the case.
Not the case.
And if we slow down just a little bit to speed up, that's what it's all about. And that's, you hit the nail on the head. Absolutely agree with you all day long. So with that, any other lasting remarks you'd like to share with us all before we go ahead and call it a wonderful evening? Yes? Hello? Can you hear me? No? Am I frozen? Can you hear me? Hello? Well, we're going to go ahead and call it a night. And let me just go ahead and let's just make sure she's good to go. We're good to go? Okay, there we go.
Well, good.
Oh, there you are. Okay, I didn't want to shut you off before we had to, but thank you for everything, Dora. Is there any other lasting remarks you'd like to share?
No. Go digital or go home.
Go digital, go home. No. Thank you again. All right.
Bye.